What's up? It's Michael Man 2000 here. You know, the movie reviewer one. I make all them movie critiques, all them cool YouTube videos. You know, I've got lots of classic reviews, and today we're making another one. I'm gonna be talking about a new movie that just came out on Netflix called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, directed by Charlie Kaufman, and also written by and produced by. It was made by him, alright? Now, Charlie Kaufman is my boy, my homie. I mean, he's probably my favorite person working in film. He's made tons of masterpieces. He made Synecdoche, New York, which is like one of my top 5 favorite movies. He made Eternal Sunshine, which is one of my top 10 favorite movies. He made one of the funniest movies ever made called Adaptation, which is 2 Nick Cages as twin brothers writing the movie you're watching. There's that movie Being John Malkovich, where there's a portal that you can go into the head and become John Malkovich.
Malkovich, Malkovich. Malkovich, Malkovich, Malkovich. Malkovich, Malkovich. Malkovich. Malkovich! Malkovich.
And then there's Anomalisa, which is like a cool animated movie that's really thoughtful and nice. He also apparently helped out writing Kung Fu Panda 2, which isn't even surprising because that movie's legendary. He also wrote a book that I haven't read yet, but it looks good, I guess. Anyway, this is the only movie of his that I've been excited for before it came out because I didn't really know about him until after Anomalisa, which was his most recent movie up to this point. So I was really hyped for this one, and let me just tell you, it's another masterpiece. So what is this movie about? Well, you could basically sum it up by just saying it's a movie about a girl and her boyfriend going to meet her boyfriend's parents at a barn and then leaving and going to get ice cream and seeing his childhood high school. Sounds really boring and not movie-like when you put it like that, but it's actually pretty weird and crazy. I just want to go through the cast real quick to show you how great all of these actors are. You have Toni Collette, who's in Hereditary, and she was like the best part of that movie, and I feel like everyone loved her in that. So I mean, it has that going for her. I think she's really, really good in this movie. She does a really good job of acting old and dying, but also acting young in different scenes, because, you know, you flip through time a bit in this movie. And then you have David Thewlis, who is her husband in the movie. So they're the parents, and he's been in Harry Potter, and I mean, if you just look at his IMDb, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's the main character in Anomalisa, Michael, and he's also in The Big Lebowski.
I know that. What the fuck is with this guy? Who is he?
Now let's get to the main two. You have Jesse Plemons playing Jake. He played Todd in Breaking Bad, and more recently he was a character in The Irishman. But then you get to Jessie Buckley. And to be honest, I haven't been too wowed by performances in different movies I've seen her in, but in this one, I was like, dang, that lady can act good. So yeah, you got a real tight cast, but you also have a good director, the best writer in existence, the same editor as Synecdoche, New York, and them edits, especially when it gets crazier after the dessert scene, the editing becomes quite top tier, and from a lighting and cinematography perspective, the movie looks great, and all the different camera angles and stuff make a 45-minute car ride stay interesting, so I mean, that goes to show something. But I think what's really going to stand out about this movie isn't the impeccable technical aspects, but I think the writing and how weird it is. This definitely isn't a straightforward narrative either. It's structured very bizarrely, but it fits the movie. By the end of the movie, you're probably going to spend hours thinking about what was real, what everything meant, and trying to decipher the whole thing, and I think having a movie that sticks in your head for a few days really does show how great it is. I mean, I've only seen this movie once. I'm definitely gonna have to see it again to decipher what I think everything means and what's going on in the whole movie. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for the spoiler-free section, because I really just want to get into what I think everything meant and what I think is going on throughout the movie. So with that, I definitely recommend this movie. If you're looking to just be like entertained for 2 hours, maybe go see Mad Max or Hot Fuzz, because those are the 2 most entertaining movies ever. But if you're interested in seeing something that's a bit weird and uncomfortable and unnerving and strange, scary, maybe even a bit boring, a movie that's really going to challenge you, then definitely go see this because it's really, really great. I highly recommend. It's a masterpiece. So hopefully you've seen it now, and after watching an old naked man walk behind an animated talking pig, makes you probably think me recommending this movie makes me insane. So what did I think about what's going on in the movie? Well, I'm definitely not 100% right, and I'm gonna have to see it again to completely understand and probably read some stuff and watch some interviews. My basic understanding about what's happening in the movie is definitely all kind of in the head of the janitor character, who is also Jake, and also Lucia, whatever the other L name she had was. You kind of start to get the sense that these characters are the same person around the first hour of the movie. There's a lot of cuts between Jake and the janitor, and sometimes Jake says stuff about seeing kids in the town, or talking about the school in sort of a weird way, or the play, and you start to see a link between those two characters, the janitor and Jake. But once you get to the house, you start to see a lot of links between him and his girlfriend. There's that bit where she sees a picture and she sees herself, but then she sees Jake. There's that bit where he gives her his slippers and he says that his slippers are her slippers. And then later in the movie, she gives her slippers to the janitor character, saying that it's his. There's just some similarities between the characters, like Jake and her both grew up in a farm. There's that bit where you see Jake's parents in their basement, they're cleaning the janitor's clothes, and there's also Lucy's paintings with Jake's name on them. There's also that bit where Jake knows all the rooms at the school. Also, when he's getting ice cream, he's afraid of being mocked at by the girls, which is similar to how early in the movie you see them mock the janitor character. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to think that Lucy and Jake and the janitor are all kind of the same person. My sort of take on that is that the janitor is the only real person in the movie, and he's sort of dreaming or fantasizing about him being younger, therefore Jake, and being with this woman, Lucy. I think through the backstory you can tell that Lucy was someone he met at like a bar or something, and he's sort of imagining what it would have been like for him to take her to meet his parents. Through imagining him taking that girl to his parents' house, he's sort of going through his insecurities and regrets and memories, and it all starts to sort of get distorted, and you get the sense that he's sort of an unreliable narrator. My favorite sequence in the entire thing was when his parents go from old to young and switch around and get dementia, and he's taking care of them, or the dad's getting the nightgown, or the mom is asking her to go do the laundry, and she goes in the basement and it gets even more distorted. And when the boyfriend's screaming at her to go get the chains and then the basement is all snowy. That stuff's really cool, and I think there's a lot of moments, especially there, where I was sort of impressed by a lot of the editing decisions especially, but also other decisions. Like when the father is talking about his wife like she's dead, well, she's right in front of him. Or when that character is shaking his son's hand and he's looking away from him. Stuff like that's really effective, and I think there's a lot of clever edits, choices, and cuts in this movie. Another one of my favorites is when the janitor is watching this cheesy movie, and then we cut back to the dinner and sort of see a contrast between them. Or when the boyfriend's talking about how they had to stop having pigs because they got maggots and they had to get rid of them. And then you go to the dinner scene and they say all this food was made on the farm, and you see a big ham. There's a lot of bits in this movie where characters will quickly adjust their emotions. Like when the mom is laughing for way too long and then it starts to sort of fade into her being in pain or something. Or when a character will say something really weird or serious or metaphorical, and then they'll just act normal. I specifically remember a bit at the ice cream shop where the girl is talking to her about not moving forward in time, and then just going, okay, thank you, have a nice day, here's your ice cream. Or when Jake is in his car and he starts to tear up about how all these sayings that try to comfort you and give you hope are actually just lies. And then it cuts to him just acting normal. I think once you get to the school part of the movie, you start to get a much better understanding of what's happening. That's when it becomes more clear that the janitor and Jake are the same person, but it also becomes much more clear what's happening between them. There's that scene where they're dancing and the janitor comes in and you sort of see a synopsis of his life and how he kind of is Jake. Whether that sequence is meant to be a reflection or sort of summary of his entire life, or if it's supposed to be a phony version of his life, isn't really clear, but what is clear is that he sort of killed the youthful version of himself and is now just miserable. I like when the janitor is talking to Lucy also, and she has that long speech about how being in a bar, she feels uncomfortable because she feels like to be safe, she has to be claimed by a man. And you start to get a better understanding what happened in the past in Jake's life with this woman, and how he probably feels really uncomfortable and bad about it, and how she probably thinks he's a huge creep. I think that's really what I like so much about Charlie Kaufman's movies, is he's very obviously displaying himself and his own insecurities and being very vulnerable, and I think it just makes his movies so much more relatable, and also it makes them way more depressing. And it's especially depressing in this movie when the movie ends with him basically freezing himself to death in his car. And you sort of see the tie between what's happening in the movie, the title, and that. the janitor is pretty much going to kill himself, which obviously is super depressing, but it also makes us understand what the whole movie was. It's his thoughts and memories that he thought right before he decided to do that. And I really like the bit at the end when you see the animations out his front window. So yeah, that's pretty much how the movie ends. Not exactly the most pleasant or nice ending to a movie. It's really sad, but I think this movie is super interesting, and it's gonna be stuck in my head. I'm gonna be thinking about it for a while. So now let's talk about a sort of rating and what I think of this movie in comparison to Charlie Kaufman's others. I think personally, this is one of the lesser ones to me. My favorite is definitely Synecdoche, New York, Eternal Sunshine, Adaptation, and then probably Being John Malkovich. Then I think this one, and then Anomalisa. So yeah, I think it's probably my 5th favorite of the bunch. I really, really, really liked it though. I don't want to sound like I didn't like it just because it's my 5th favorite. I still think this is a near perfect movie. I mean, I'm trying to pick between my favorite and least favorite of 6 masterpieces. It's not an easy thing to do, but I definitely recommend them all. I just would recommend these 4 more than this movie. But at the same time, I definitely recommend this movie. Definitely watch it. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I think I'd give it a 9. But yeah, masterpiece, best movie of the year. I mean, the year isn't over yet, but probably the best movie of the year. So go see it, it's great. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hi, this is Michael Frieda, the actual real human being. I just want to make a little announcement because I know I missed last week for my weekly schedule that I've been doing. But recently, I've been very stressed out with a lot of work. I'm also making a new computer and I kind of want to hold out on making a lot of videos until I get that done, because that's going to make editing a whole lot easier. 3/4 of the time won't be spent waiting for it to stop buffering. Hopefully it'll be a better editing machine than this thing. A 2014 MacBook Pro. But yeah, that's about it. Bye!